Um, we got one coming in here from Zero who says, Merry Christmas, Beast
Merry
Lords.
Christmas.
Zero here. Got a quick question. Do completionists and trophy hunters ruin games? I've encountered a few completionists in the recent years that have described how they play games, and it just sounds miserable to me. Playing them while following a step by step trophy guide or needless grinds to an achievement, or not stopping playing something else until they've gotten every trophy to 100%. I
Hmm.
feel like playing like this way could take a good game or a below average bad game, or it could take a good game into a below average or bad game. What are your thoughts? I hope you had a good holiday, and keep fighting the fight, Wooly, with your brother in arms having given abandoned you on the Wi-Fi battle. I see. Okay. Um, yeah, I've talked about this before, and in my opinion, it's absolutely something that can make a game playing experience miserable. It doesn't make the game worse, obviously. It's on you, it's your fault. There's two people I can think of that are completionists in games, and they're the polar opposite in their approach. Because there's Shmup God Pat, for example, who will take a
Hmm.
game he likes, play it normally, complete it normally, and then go back and replay and target the achievements and the fun stuff that he wants to do, and then do the cleanup after all the fun stuff's taken care of, and eventually platinum the entire game. Which can take a while, but you're taking a normal experience, expanding on it with more enjoyment, and then, I guess doing the cleanup however you would towards the end there as residue, if you would. Someone I used to work with back in QA was actually picking games on a list based on how fast they could get 1,000 gamer score in them, and would play games that he actively hated or did not enjoy simply because the achievement to minute ratio was high. And his entire night was like, okay, tonight we're going to play the Avatar game, get 1,000 gamer score, and then switch over to some other bullshit and some other
Hmm.
bullshit, and like not even play them for any other purpose, but just target achievements first, foremost, and exclusively. Not complete them if completing them was not a requirement. Even it was miserable, and it was his way of playing it because he cared about the score. But like, it kind of felt like, especially like the kind of anger and rage at certain games that were like not making the achievements easy enough to get or taking too much time. Like, it'd be like, you're not enjoying yourself. This is just like making a condition you have worse, you know? It felt like almost. And it's just not great to see that version of a gameplay experience.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the game. Like for me, well, everything you just described, I've known people like that where, yeah, I think the Avatar game is like the popular example where like achievement people would just like go to GameStop and buy that and then get it and then return it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's like it really depends on the game. Like Devil May Cry, Resident Evil, like I will completionist those ones and then even like still play them after I platinum them or whatever. But yeah, I think it kind of, what is it, the quote, optimize the fun out of it? I feel like
Yeah,
it
that's the
kind of
Sid
falls
Meier
into
quote.
that. Yeah, it like falls into that territory where you're just like, what can I do to
Hmm.
get just check this like these boxes off a list as fast as possible. And I don't personally think that's very fun, but
Hmm.
I don't know, if you get your rocks off with that, then more power to you.
This splits along two lines. So there's one axis, which is um interest versus compulsion. And then there's the second axis, which is increase happiness versus avoid anxiety. Um, there is the four quadrants on that. Completionists fit into the four quadrants. Are you somebody who compulsively plays something to increase your happiness? So, for example, I have Devil May Cry 3. I'm so crazy about Devil May Cry 3. I can't stop playing Devil May Cry 3. I can't stop thinking about Devil May Cry 3. I want to S rank everything. I want to S rank every difficulty. I'm having a great time. This is great. Great. Then there's the person who non-compulsively completes DMC3 because it's something they pick away at over time and it's a thing that they really like and it's something they can go back to and then they will over time pick it away. Then there's non-compulsive uh, remove or avoid anxiety, which is me, which is I have to do this correctly or I can't play it because it will make me upset that I'm doing it wrong. I'm playing God of War Ragnarok. I have to do the side section before I go to the end because I have to do it in the right order. And if I do it in the wrong order, then I'll be upset. So I have to do it like this. And then there's compulsive avoiding anxiety, which honestly describes people who pick up a game and then like literally have to 100% complete it before moving on because they have to, and if they don't, then they'll get really upset, and that sucks. So the compulsion or avoiding anxiety parts of this are terrible. They're awful. I hate it. It ruins games for me all the time. Uh, but there is the four quadrants on that. That being said, putting in bullshit completion statistics just to inflate runtime is awful. It's
Yeah,
terrible. There are
I
people who are
agree.
susceptible to that who will have their day ruined. Witcher 3 is a really good example. You don't need to have 400 goddamn question marks underneath the ocean to get gear. You don't need that.
Mm.
In fact, the new update, the default map hides almost all of those question marks because you don't need to have them. And it makes it so that the default map filter does not show you just how many spots you're missing.
Yeah,
But
totally.
but you otherwise turn that on and you see what you have not touched, and it feels
And you're like,
incomplete.
oh, what's there? I could be
Yeah,
missing
yeah,
tons of it.
yeah,
And you're
yeah,
like, oh.
yeah, yeah.
And so it's so the biggest one is, am I doing this because I'm increasing my happiness?
Hmm.
Which Devil May Cry is a really good example for me and for everybody here. Or am I doing it to avoid being anxious? Which is I need to scrape every room in Resident Evil and get every single piece of ammo and not shoot that
Yeah,
ammo so that I can
yeah.
get to the final boss with so much ammunition I can't put it into my inventory and then have an anxiety attack thinking I won't be able to beat the boss that actually dies due to a timer.
It's odd because like the two people I can think of, the one I mentioned, and then like someone else that plays their games in this sort of methodical achievement only based way, were not like, I know this sucks, but I'm doing it anyway because I feel like I have to, compulsively do this. They're
Hmm.
more like, no, I want to do it this way, and this is a better way to play. They were like
Yeah.
defending it in that way, And it's like, well, don't let anyone tell you how to spend your money and do what you want to do. But to most people, like I would say that, like, yeah, you're taking an experience that could be or should, or is best enjoyed, like going through it as a gameplay and narrative, just pure experience, unhindered by extrinsic value. And then
Hmm.
after that, you can insert the intrinsic value, which is your achievements and trophies or whatever, later on for if you feel like staying in the game. But
So
it
you're
even, sorry, I was just going to bring up that because of how crazy things got at that time, we
hmm
go back to the era of 360 XBLA games, and Braid came out and had those stars, which
yeah.
were non-achievement based achievements that gave you
Yeah.
no gamer score. And there was a point that Jonathan Blow was trying to make about, are you even going to get these if you don't get a gamer score for them? You
Hmm.
know?
The only thing that I want to uh disagree with is that the phrasing that you're going in is you're making it sound like an active decision.
Mm-hmm.
So when I load up let's say God of War, right? Oh, really good example. Susie, especially since you played it. Those fucking use the move X amount of times to
Mm.
upgrade the move things, right? And I
Yeah,
just so if I was playing that game without on stream and I didn't have to make progress, I would have just sat there every time I got a new move and just maxed it all the way
that's
out.
so funny
And
to
that is
me.
obviously my decision to make,
Mm.
right? But the way that I feel about not seeing that big zero or that incomplete mark on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thing, I can't control that. That part is out of my control. I look at it and I go, it's uneven, it's unfinished. Like when I have a JRPG and my party levels start to get out of sync by a good deal, I start to freak the fuck out. I can't stand it. Like the main character's 24 levels higher than everybody else. Holy
Mm.
fuck.
I remember hearing you guys actually talk about that, specifically the God of War one, because I remembered as soon as you started talking about it, I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Because like I wonder if I personally am like most of the players because
Hmm.
that was like I just saw it and I was like, okay. And whenever I just played the game naturally, just unhindered, and
Hmm.
whenever I got one of those notifications where it was like, you got the gold tier of this move, like I was just like, cool. Like
Yeah,
it didn't
and
even
then
affect me like at
and then
all.
you could go upgrade it at the time, and that was like a little reward that you would get for,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, this I really like this move. I use it all the time. Therefore,
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so
The closest thing I can imagine, I can think of with that is like whenever I get a new ability or weapon in a game and I want a lab, but we're LPing, so we gotta go. you know, I definitely am like, okay, I'll do a mini lab and then we'll move forward. And then as soon as the cameras are off, I'm gonna go back in there and figure out how this thing works. You know, because I enjoy getting into that, but yeah, and feeling like I misranged something or I whiffed it because I didn't, whatever that stuff is. I'm like, that annoys me. But yeah, it's not active, is what you're saying. You
yeah,
know.
and so it's the kind of thing where, like, if I had seen God of War prior to its development, I would have been able to look at that and be like, oh, you're gonna make about 10% of people lose their fucking minds looking at the skill sheet, right? They're just gonna go nuts and they're gonna go bang it out in the fucking training dungeon, and I think that's why you get early access to the training dummy and the moves count there so that you can do that. You get access to the dummy that you can beat on super early, and the upgrades on those moves count in there. So you can just go in there and just go, I'm gonna throw this axe 75 times. Unlock
Mm,
gold, great, done. And I'm sure that's why it's there in that form. But yeah, no, completionism's complicated. Because um there's certain games that just like demand, like they offer you many avenues of completion, and sometimes it sucks, but the rewards are such that you feel like you're missing out if you don't do them, and that affects people to certain strengths. It
yeah,
affects me
yeah, yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
strongly.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
and like using that, and I mean, a great example of this also is like literally the entire MMO genre and
Yeah.
how it has not worked on me because breadcrumbs don't work on me. You
Hmm.
know. There's entire genres where a lot of people are like, well, I can take a little bit of watching the completionist thing go up and doing the
Yeah.
checklist and dailies and such, and that'll be fun. It's not going to hit that like I'm avoiding anxiety zone, but for me, I'm just like I'm not even buying in to begin with.
So actually, that's a really good point to make about 14 specifically, because one of the reasons why 14 is so it has maintained its popularity is that the team will be like, "Hey, do you not want to play this patch and unsubscribe for 6 months? Yeah, sure, okay, do it. You can totally catch up when you come back. Nothing's gonna leave. Chill out." And so the bleeding edge race to be current is not there. Like, nothing's leaving, nothing's going away. You're not going to miss it out. It's still going to be there as is.
What
So
was WoW like if you chose to not participate?
WoW had like stringent gearing, and it was like a fucking sprint.
Okay,
Like
so you would
WoW
come
had,
back and be infinitely behind.
yeah, like
Okay,
so WoW had like you had to do the old raid to gear up for the new raid kind of system.
okay.
And so, did you miss the hot time on the old raid? Well, good luck gearing up for the new raid.
You're not even allowed to participate at that point. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I've
Um.
always
And
heard about the WoW sprint, by the way, so that's funny. It just
the
kind
other
of
thing,
triggered some memories. I was like, oh yeah,
mm,
I remember
it
that person in my life who would just obsess over this bullshit.
there was also like, hey, do you need to do a rep grind or something like that? Don't miss a week, because if you miss a week, you're now a week behind for 2 years, and you can't catch up.
Oh God. Oh God. Fuck that. Fuck
So
everything about
WoW
that.
WoW has the FOMO, like you must log in.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
must log in.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
14, like every 2 or 3 live letters, they're like, if you're not excited for this patch, just fucking unsub. It's cool.
Hit the pause button.
Come back for the expansion. We know you will.
Now,
Wow.
question, how do you guys feel in retrospect about with this topic on the table? How do you feel about Death Stranding? Because that game was like that was the first game where I felt like, man, I gotta build every road and set up a fucking zip line everywhere. And that
Yeah.
was kind of like a form
I
of completion.
Yeah, I did not stay in long enough for my zip lines to degrade over time, you know?
Yeah, me either. Yeah.
So that would have been annoying as fuck to me if I had to run into that while I was playing through it. But
Mhm.
I was initially like worried about the busy work and,
Mhm.
and that shit. And as people saw during the LP, I started having fun doing it, popping on a podcast and trucking. Like
So
I found enjoyment off camera.
I think that Death Stranding is one of the best examples of this ever because it is self-directed completionism. It's not, hey, run this, delivery 45 times and a zip line will form. It's, hey man, do you want to make this easier on yourself? Maybe build a zip line. Okay, I'm going to build
Yeah.
my own zip line network and I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to max out the road. And the reward for the road isn't, oh, cool, I built a road. The reward for the road is, oh, sick, I'm driving. And it was about increasing my enjoyment by adding to it. It was not to decrease my anxiety.
Yeah, totally. That's really cool. It's a cool way to think about it.
Yeah. Again though, like easily could have ruined a lot of those feelings if you had like 48 hours before your zipline degraded. You
No,
know?
that'd be too much. Yeah.
Like, yeah, like the degradation system is in the game, but holy shit, make sure that doesn't fucking you don't see it for a while, So
And
Bringing up this.
you guys didn't play the director's cut
No, I
update.
don't.
no.
What's the big difference on that?
They added so much shit. There's a whole new like highway that goes up to the mountains, the snowy
Fuck.
mountains
Oh,
now.
fuck. Oh, god damn it.
Like
Through the
from the
mountains because it goes
yeah,
up
through
to
the
the initial
mountains.
landing point,
So you
right?
know like where you like when you start in like the first big open world and you could drive and then there's like a road that goes this way to the I forget the city names, but like
Hmm.
towards Conan O'Brien and
Sh-
then the one that goes towards the mountains. So now
right.
there's another road that goes straight up between them that goes through the mountains so you could get to
Okay.
No,
Mountain Knot City
I
quicker.
heard they toned down that first forest from being the most fucked up, awful part of the game. The
Oh,
Oh,
I
wind
think they
farm
did.
forest.
the wind
Yeah,
farm descent. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think they did because on my second playthrough, because I played it twice. In my second playthrough, it wasn't as bad, and they also added a cannon, so you could just put your cargo in the cannon and shoot it across the map.
I saw the video of that too, actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and they also added ramps, and you could run with your feet off a ramp and do like 3 backflips in midair
Okay.
God
because
damn it. Maybe I
you
gotta go
know
back to Death Stranding. Fuck.
it's fun. It's fun.
Um, yeah, I remember hitting a point too where like combat stopped being like scary and it was more just like problem solving, and that sped up a lot of
Yeah,
that too. Because you're
Yeah, and
yeah,
then
sneaking
definitely.
combat
around, but you don't have to.
then and combat became I'm gonna let myself get caught so that I can kill this guy because I need chiral whatever's.
Chiral points or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you just smoke that dude next to the hot springs over and over and over.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
yeah. Good question. Thank you. There we go.